Have you ever felt like you're the one doing all the work in a relationship? Always initiating, always chasing, always giving. Maybe it's those late-night texts where you're always the first to reach out, or rearranging your schedule to accommodate hers. You're constantly putting in the effort while she seems to remain indifferent, passive, or even distant. But then something shifts. One day, out of sheer exhaustion or a moment of clarity, you stop. You pull back, not out of spite, but because you're tired of feeling like you're carrying the weight of the relationship alone. And almost like magic, the dynamic begins to change. Suddenly, she's texting you first, asking why you're so quiet, or even making excuses to see you. Why does this happen? What's going on beneath the surface when you step away? Is it about power, control, or something deeper? And what does this shift reveal, not just about her, but about you? If you found yourself wondering about these questions, you're not alone. The dynamics of relationships are complex, driven by a mix of psychology, emotions, and unspoken expectations. The moment you change your behavior, the entire relationship dynamic evolves. But here's the thing. The goal isn't to manipulate or play games. The goal is to understand the deeper truths about connection, attraction, and respect, starting with yourself. Before we dive into these topics, take a moment to support this channel. Like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more content on relationships, personal growth, and mastering your inner world. Together, we're building a community of people committed to self-improvement and meaningful connections. Now let's get into it. 1. The chase begins. We value what feels just out of reach. This is a universal truth of human nature. Whether it's the thrill of the hunt or the allure of something unattainable, we're wired to desire what we cannot easily have. In relationships, this principle often manifests as the chase. When you're always available, always giving, and always pursuing, it diminishes the perceived value of your presence. But the moment you step back and shift your focus inward, the dynamic begins to change. Imagine this scenario. You've been texting her consistently, always the one to initiate conversations. She responds, but her replies feel lukewarm, short, delayed, or lacking genuine engagement. You start to wonder, does she even care? Then one day you decide to stop, not to punish her, but because you've realized the imbalance isn't serving you. At first, there's silence. Days might pass without a text from her, and doubt creeps in. But then, something interesting happens. She texts you, asking, "Is everything okay?" Or, "You've been quiet lately." This shift isn't random. It's the psychological pull of curiosity and perceived scarcity. When something we once took for granted suddenly feels less accessible, we start to value it more. However, the key to navigating this shift lies in your intentions. Your withdrawal shouldn't be a strategy to manipulate or provoke jealousy. It should come from a place of genuine self-respect. You're no longer seeking validation from someone else. Instead, you're redirecting that energy toward your own growth, purpose, and well-being. Take the example of Jason, a friend who once confided in me. He was in a similar situation, constantly chasing a woman who seemed only half invested. One day, he decided to pull back. He focused on his career, spent more time at the gym, and reconnected with his hobbies. Within weeks, her behavior changed. She started initiating conversations, complimenting his confidence, and even making plans to see him. But Jason didn't rush back into the dynamic that had drained him before. Instead, he took his time to evaluate whether her renewed interest aligned with his values and long-term goals. This is the crux of the matter. Stepping back isn't about playing hard to get. It's about reclaiming your energy, valuing your time, and building a life that's fulfilling, whether or not she's part of it. If she begins to reach out, let her. Observe her actions, but don't compromise the peace and balance you've found. Relationships thrive when they're built on mutual respect, not on one-sided effort or desperation. Ultimately, the chase begins with how you value yourself. When you shift your energy inward, you send a powerful message, not just to her, but to the world. You're someone worth pursuing. 2. Testing your resolve. When you pull back from someone, it's almost guaranteed that they'll test you. This is especially true in relationships where your withdrawal disrupts the usual dynamic. Testing often manifests subtly, a comment meant to provoke a reaction, a sudden display of indifference, or even a deliberate mention of someone else. These behaviors might seem minor, but they're designed to elicit one thing: a response. Why does this happen? When someone feels the balance of power shifting, it creates uncertainty. They may not even realize they're testing you. It's an unconscious attempt to re-establish control or gauge your interest. But here's the challenge. Your reaction in these moments reveals whether your detachment is genuine or simply an act. Take Sarah and Ethan, for instance. Sarah had grown used to Ethan's constant attention, texts throughout the day, spontaneous visits, and a willingness to drop everything for her. When Ethan finally decided to step back and focus on himself, Sarah didn't know how to handle the shift. She started testing him by mentioning other men she'd been talking to and criticizing his lack of communication. In the past, Ethan might have reacted defensively, but this time he remained calm. He didn't rise to her bait or feel the need to prove himself. Instead, he acknowledged her comments with a quiet confidence and continued living his life. This is the essence of Stoicism in relationships. When someone tests you, your response, or lack thereof, speaks volumes about your emotional resilience. If you react impulsively, whether through anger, jealousy, or desperation, you give away your power. It tells the other person that their actions dictate your emotions. But when you remain grounded, you demonstrate a level of inner strength that commands respect. Think of yourself as a mountain. The winds may howl and storms may rage, but the mountain stands firm. This steadiness isn't about ignoring emotions or being cold. It's about controlling what you can and letting go of what you can't. Her tests are not challenges to conquer. They're reflections of her uncertainty and perhaps even fear of losing you. Another example comes from a story shared by a friend, Alex. When he pulled back from his girlfriend, she began testing him with passive-aggressive comments about how he didn't care anymore. Instead of taking the bait, Alex calmly expressed that he was focusing on his personal goals and that his love for her didn't depend on constant reassurance. His calm demeanor diffused her need for validation, and over time, she began respecting his boundaries. What's important to remember is that tests are not necessarily manipulative. Sometimes they're a subconscious reaction to fear or insecurity. The key is how you choose to handle them. By staying composed, you show that your peace of mind doesn't hinge on external factors. When you embody this unshakable energy, you're not just passing a test, you're redefining the dynamics of the relationship. Her attempts to provoke a reaction lose their power, and in their place grows a deeper sense of mutual respect. This isn't about winning or playing games. It's about understanding that true strength lies in self-control. When you remain calm in the face of tests, you're not just proving something to her, you're proving something to yourself. 3. Increased effort to impress. When someone realizes they're losing something valuable, their natural response is often to step up their efforts to keep it. This is no different in relationships. Once you pull back and redirect your focus inward, you may notice her making changes in how she interacts with you. These efforts could manifest in various ways. texting more often, planning more elaborate dates, or even putting extra effort into her appearance when she's around you. Why does this happen? The absence of your attention creates a void. Human beings are wired to fill voids, especially when they're tied to something or someone they value. But the critical question here is, are her efforts genuine, or are they simply a reaction to your detachment? This distinction makes all the difference. Let's consider a relatable example. David, a driven professional, found himself always initiating plans with his partner Rachel. When he decided to stop chasing and focus on his goals, something remarkable happened. Rachel began to change her approach. She started sending him thoughtful messages about his day, made an effort to dress up for their outings, and even surprised him with small gifts, gestures she hadn't shown in months. At first, David was flattered, but he paused to reflect. Were these gestures signs of genuine care, or were they a response to the perceived loss of his attention? This is where your perspective as a Stoic comes into play. Instead of getting swept up in the excitement of her renewed interest, you take a step back and observe. Pay attention to whether her actions align with your values and long-term vision for the relationship. Is she genuinely trying to understand and meet your needs, or is this just a temporary effort to regain control of the situation? Here's another story that illustrates this concept. Mark was in a relationship where his partner, Emily, had grown distant over time. When Mark began prioritizing his personal growth, enrolling in courses, hitting the gym, and spending more time with friends, Emily noticed the shift. Suddenly, she was more affectionate, complimenting him frequently and initiating plans. While this attention felt validating at first, Mark soon realized that Emily's efforts weren't rooted in understanding or genuine change. She was acting out of fear of losing him, not because she truly wanted to address the issues that had caused the distance in the first place. The lesson here is simple. Don't let temporary gestures cloud your judgment. A Stoic man doesn't chase after fleeting moments of affection or attention. Instead, he evaluates the situation with clarity and detachment. Observe her actions over time. Are they consistent? Are they driven by a deeper understanding of the relationship, or do they fade once she feels secure again? At the same time, it's important to approach this phase with kindness. Her efforts, even if reactionary, show that she values your presence in her life. Appreciate these gestures without becoming overly reliant on them. As a Stoic, your sense of worth comes from within, not from external validation, no matter how flattering it may feel. When her increased efforts align with your values, it may signal an opportunity to rebuild the relationship on a stronger foundation. But if her actions feel superficial or short-lived, it's a sign to continue prioritizing your own growth. Ultimately, this phase is not just about her behavior, but about your response to it. Your ability to remain grounded and discerning ensures that your actions are guided by purpose, not by fleeting emotions. In doing so, you maintain control over your life and set the standard for the kind of relationship you truly deserve. 4. The emotional roller coaster. When you step back in a relationship, it often triggers a whirlwind of emotions in her: sadness, frustration, confusion, and even longing. This emotional roller coaster is not about you personally. It's her grappling with the sudden shift in dynamics. Your absence creates space for her to reflect, and that space can be both uncomfortable and revealing. In these moments, it's essential to remain steady. Don't let her emotional reactions dictate your behavior. She may reach out more frequently, express her frustrations, or show signs of vulnerability. While these reactions may be sincere, they aren't your responsibility to fix. As a Stoic, your role is to maintain emotional discipline, not to control or absorb someone else's emotional state. Imagine a storm at sea. While the waves on the surface are chaotic, the depths remain calm and undisturbed. This is the mindset you must embody. Her emotions are like the waves. They'll rise, fall, and eventually settle. Your inner peace should remain constant, rooted in your values and self-respect. Your calm detachment sends a powerful message. You're not moved by external chaos. This doesn't mean you're indifferent or unkind. It means you value emotional balance over reactive behavior. Over time, this steadiness creates clarity, both for you and for her. Whether she chooses to address the root issues or not, you remain in control of your journey. Fifth, the silent observation phase. When you've stepped back and words no longer flow as freely, she begins to rely on silent observation. Every action you take, or don't take, becomes a signal. Your delayed replies, your calm demeanor, and the absence of your once consistent presence all communicate more than words ever could. This phase is not about playing hard to get or engaging in mind games. It's about embodying genuine independence. When you let go of someone emotionally, it should come from a place of clarity and self-respect, not from bitterness or an attempt to manipulate. Imagine you've been consistently available in the past, always answering texts immediately, dropping plans to accommodate her, and seeking validation through her responses. Now, as you focus on your growth and inner peace, that availability is no longer constant. She notices, and instead of reacting verbally, she begins watching your actions closely. Are you truly at peace, or is this a facade? Her silent observation seeks the answers to these questions. Think of this phase as a reflection of your character. By staying grounded and continuing to prioritize your purpose, you set an example of self-respect and emotional stability. Your actions show that your worth is not dependent on external validation, but rooted in a deeper sense of self. Over time, this silent observation can lead to one of two outcomes. Either she realizes the value of what she had and chooses to approach the relationship differently, or she accepts the changes and moves on. Either way, your unwavering calm leaves a lasting impression, reminding her and yourself of the power of detachment. 6. Rebuilding emotional boundaries. When she senses that you've genuinely moved on, her natural response might be to protect herself emotionally. This could manifest as pulling back, creating distance, or even erecting walls to shield herself from vulnerability. These actions aren't meant to hurt you. They're often a defense mechanism, a way to regain control in an uncertain emotional landscape. In this phase, your role is not to break down her walls or prove anything. Instead, it's to respect the boundaries she's setting while maintaining your own. If she's guarding her emotions, it's a signal that she's processing her feelings. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This principle applies directly here. You cannot control how she reacts to the shifts in your dynamic, nor should you try. Your peace of mind doesn't depend on her actions or approval. Instead, it's rooted in your self-awareness and commitment to personal growth. Imagine you're walking through a forest, each step deliberate and purposeful. You encounter a wall, but instead of tearing it down or attempting to climb over it, you simply observe it, appreciate its presence, and continue your journey. This is the approach you should take with emotional boundaries. Respect them, understand their purpose, and let them exist without resistance. Her boundaries also present an opportunity for reflection. They give you time to assess your own emotional needs and whether the relationship aligns with your long-term vision. If her actions come from a place of growth and understanding, there may be room to rebuild. If not, your path remains clear, centered on peace, purpose, and progress. Ultimately, rebuilding emotional boundaries is not about changing her or winning her back. It's about honoring both your journeys, yours and hers, while staying true to your values. The strength you cultivate through this process is transformative, making you a more self-assured and grounded individual, regardless of the relationship's outcome. 7. Attempts to spark jealousy. When feeling vulnerable, she might attempt to make you jealous. You might notice her posting pictures on social media that showcase her life in the best light, nights out, new adventures, or even photos with other men. She might bring up stories about someone showing her attention, or casually emphasize her independence, as if to say, "Look how well I'm doing without you." These actions aren't accidental, they're calculated, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, to regain a sense of control. As Epictetus wisely noted, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When someone tries to provoke you through jealousy or any other emotional trigger, it's not the act itself that holds power, but your response to it. If you engage, even subtly, you fuel the narrative she's creating. But if you remain calm, detached, and focused on your peace, you not only take control of the situation, but also preserve your dignity. Think of jealousy as a fire. It thrives on reaction, on the fuel of engagement. If she posts a picture with someone new or makes a pointed remark about her life, the temptation to react can be strong. But a Stoic man understands that the only thing worth controlling is his own mind. Ask yourself, does this really affect my peace, or is it just a test of my resolve? By refusing to feed into emotional games, you starve the fire. Your indifference sends a powerful message, not one of bitterness, but of unshakable composure. It shows that your peace is something no one can take from you unless you allow it. For example, if she shares a story about someone else taking her out or posts a carefully staged photo with another man, recognize it for what it is, an attempt to provoke a reaction. Smile to yourself, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that your value doesn't depend on anyone's approval. This is where your inner strength shines. Your silence and composure will speak louder than any words could. It communicates that you're not playing the game and that your happiness isn't dictated by external events. Over time, this calm indifference often has an unexpected effect. She may start to question her actions. Why hasn't he reacted? Why does he seem so unaffected? This uncertainty shifts the focus inward, making her reflect on what she might have lost. Your silence becomes louder than anything you could say. It's not about punishing her, but about showing that you're a man who values his inner tranquility above fleeting drama. Let her actions be met with your calmness. In doing so, you preserve your peace, maintain your power, and show her and yourself that you are in control of your emotions, not the other way around. 8. Accepting and adapting. Eventually, she accepts the reality of your disinterest. This stage is where true transformation often begins, not just for her, but for you as well. As she accepts this new reality, she may experience significant personal growth. Letting go of someone we care about is never easy, but in that struggle lies an opportunity for strength. Acceptance doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that teaches resilience, self-reflection, and the importance of focusing on what lies within her control. In a way, letting go becomes her version of practicing Stoicism, even if she doesn't call it that. It's about releasing the grip on what no longer serves her, and redirecting her energy toward her own well-being. For you, this is a moment to focus on your own growth while respecting her process. Stoicism teaches us to understand what lies within our control and what does not. You cannot dictate how she feels or how she handles your disinterest, but you can remain composed, kind, and focused on your own path. By stepping back and focusing inward, you signal that your energy is reserved for what truly matters. This action can serve as a mirror, encouraging her to reflect on her own needs and goals. Imagine a scenario where a woman, after sensing your withdrawal, initially feels hurt, but later channels that energy into something meaningful. Perhaps she picks up a neglected hobby, focuses on her career, or improves her personal health. The pain of your absence becomes the catalyst for her growth. The key takeaway here is that stepping back isn't about hurting someone intentionally. It's about making intentional choices that align with your growth and values. By doing so, you also give her the opportunity to embrace her own journey. 9. Reflecting on your own journey. Finally, this experience isn't just about her reaction, it's about your growth. Sometimes losing interest happens because you've evolved as a person. Your priorities shift, your understanding deepens, and what once seemed like a perfect connection no longer aligns with who you are or what you seek. This isn't a failure, it's a sign of growth. As you grow, your needs and values refine themselves, and relationships that don't match this new version of you naturally fall away. It's not about blame, it's about clarity. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, every relationship is a lesson. Reflect on what this relationship taught you. Were there moments that helped you discover more about your boundaries, desires, or values? Did you realize you needed to be more assertive, patient, or self-aware? These lessons are invaluable because they shape the person you're becoming. For her, your disinterest might stir feelings of doubt or a desire to reconnect. But instead of focusing on her potential reaction, center yourself. This is your chance to reaffirm your values, stand firm in what truly matters to you, and avoid being swayed by guilt or external expectations. Take this as an opportunity for introspection. What was it about the relationship that no longer resonated? Was it a lack of shared goals or emotional connection? Maybe you outgrew certain dynamics. Whatever the case, treat it as a stepping stone toward understanding your authentic self. Growth is never easy, but it's always worthwhile. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom serves as a reminder. Take the good and leave the rest. Cherish the positive memories and lessons learned, but don't dwell on what could have been. Instead, focus on improving your character, whether by cultivating patience, resilience, or a deeper sense of self-awareness. Every step you take is an investment in becoming the person you're meant to be. As we wrap up this video, let's reflect on the deeper lessons we've explored. Relationships, like life, are a constant interplay of emotions, intentions, and growth. The key takeaway is this: your value isn't tied to someone else's perception of you. It's rooted in how you perceive yourself and the standards you set for your life. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within, from mastering our emotions, staying composed in the face of uncertainty, and focusing on what we can control. When you let go of the need to chase or prove yourself, you reclaim your power. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about being grounded, self-assured, and intentional in every action. Every relationship, whether it lasts a moment or a lifetime, has something to teach you. Embrace the lessons, set clear boundaries, and focus on what truly matters. Thank you for being part of this journey. Let me know in the comments which part of today's video resonated with you most. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights. Stay grounded, stay true to your values, and trust that the right connections will come into your life when you least expect them. Until next time, take care and keep striving for the clarity and strength that Stoicism offers.